A black woman ran into an elevator with tears streaming down her face. Her heart was racing. Her hands were shaking. And the last person she wanted to see was the man chasing her. Her ex-boyfriend. The same man who had stolen her money, broken her heart, and ruined her life. Desperate to escape, she pressed the elevator button repeatedly. The doors finally opened. She rushed inside without looking. The doors closed. Only then did she realize. She wasn't alone. A tall Korean man dressed in a black suit stood silently in the corner. Cold eyes. Sharp jawline. Powerful presence. The entire elevator suddenly felt smaller. She had no idea who he was. But everyone else in Seoul did. Because standing beside her was Kang Ji-Hoon, the most feared billionaire mafia boss in Korea. And what neither of them knew was that this elevator ride was about to change both of their lives forever. Amina Johnson never imagined her life would fall apart so quickly. She was 28 years old. Smart. Hardworking. Beautiful. And living what seemed like a perfect life. 3 years earlier, she had moved from Atlanta to Seoul to work for an international fashion company. She loved Korea. She loved the culture. She loved the opportunities. Most importantly, she thought she had found love. His name was Marcus. A charming businessman from America. At least that's what he claimed to be. For 2 years, Marcus convinced Amina he loved her. He promised marriage. A future. A family. Everything she dreamed about. Then one morning she woke up to discover he had disappeared. Along with her savings. Her investment money. And her trust. Over $150,000 gone. Just like that. When she confronted him weeks later, he laughed. Laughed. And told her she was stupid for trusting him. That was the day Amina's heart broke. But she survived. She worked harder. Started rebuilding her life. Then 6 months later, Marcus came back. And this time, he wanted her again. The luxury hotel lobby was crowded. Amina had just finished a client meeting. Then she saw him. Marcus. Standing near the entrance. Smiling. The same smile she once loved. Now it made her sick. Amina. She turned immediately. No. Not today. She walked faster. Marcus followed. Amina, wait. She reached the elevator. Pressed the button. Again. 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 The doors opened. She jumped inside. The doors closed. Silence. Then a deep voice spoke. You seem frightened. Amina nearly jumped. She looked toward the corner. A man stood there. Tall. Elegant. Dangerously handsome. His black suit looked custom-made. His expression unreadable. I'm fine. He studied her for a moment. Then glanced toward the closing doors. Just before they shut completely, Marcus appeared. Too late. The elevator started moving. The stranger looked back at her. That man is your problem? Amina sighed. My ex. The man nodded once. As if he understood everything immediately. That was the beginning. The beginning of a story neither of them could have predicted. The next morning, Amina arrived at work. Only to discover her co-workers staring at her. Wide-eyed. Shocked. Confused. What? One co-worker nearly dropped her coffee. You were in the elevator with Kang Ji-Hoon. Amina blinked. Who? The entire office froze. You don't know who Kang Ji-Hoon is? She shook her head. The room exploded. Everyone started talking at once. The billionaire owner of Ji-Hoon Global. The mysterious investor. The man rumored to control half of Seoul's underground business network. The billionaire nobody dared challenge. The man newspapers called the Shadow King. Amina laughed. Surely they were exaggerating. They weren't. And she would soon discover that for herself. 3 days later Marcus cornered her outside her apartment. Demanding another chance. Refusing to leave. Amina felt trapped. Then suddenly, a black luxury car stopped beside them. The rear door opened. And Kang Ji-Hoon stepped out. The temperature around them seemed to drop instantly. Marcus immediately became nervous. Ji-Hoon looked at Amina. Then at Marcus. Then back at Amina. Is he bothering you? Amina nodded. That was all he needed to hear. Without raising his voice. Without making threats. Without touching anyone. Ji-Hoon simply looked at Marcus. The man practically ran away. And from that moment, Amina's life became connected to the billionaire she barely knew. To see Kang Ji-Hoon again. She was wrong. 3 days after he rescued her from Marcus, her manager suddenly called her into the executive conference room. The moment she entered, she froze. Ji-Hoon was sitting at the far end of the table. Calm. Elegant. Silent. The same way he had looked inside the elevator. Her heart skipped. What is he doing here? Her manager smiled nervously. Mr. Kang is expanding his businesses into Africa. Amina frowned. So? He specifically requested you. Now she was confused. Me? Ji-Hoon finally spoke. You understand both African and Korean business cultures. His voice remained calm. I need someone I can trust. Amina almost laughed. You barely know me. Ji-Hoon looked directly at her. Exactly. She blinked. What? You have no reason to lie to me. The room became silent. For some reason. That answer impressed her. By the end of the meeting, she had accepted a 6-month consulting contract. Neither of them realized this agreement would completely change their lives. Working with Kang Ji-Hoon was unlike anything Amina expected. The man was brilliant. Terrifyingly brilliant. He remembered every detail. Every number. Every conversation. Every promise. His employees practically worshipped him. But there was one problem. He never smiled. Ever. Not once. One afternoon during a meeting, Amina accidentally spilled coffee across a presentation document. The entire boardroom froze. Executives looked horrified. One man nearly fainted. But Amina simply sighed. Well, there goes 20 minutes of work. To everyone's shock. Ji-Hoon laughed. Actually laughed. The room nearly exploded. Executives exchanged terrified looks. Did the boss just laugh? The news spread through headquarters in less than an hour. Employees celebrated like a national holiday. And for the first time, Ji-Hoon realized Amina made him feel different. Comfortable. Normal. Human. Unfortunately, not everyone liked Amina. Especially Han Seo-yeon. A beautiful Korean heiress. Fashion model. Socialite. And the woman everyone expected Ji-Hoon to marry. Seo-yeon had spent years trying to win his attention. Years. And suddenly, a foreign woman appeared. And captured it effortlessly. One evening during a luxury charity gala, Seo-yeon approached Amina with a perfect smile. You must be Amina. The smile looked friendly. The eyes did not. I've heard so much about you. Amina smiled politely. Hopefully good things. Seo-yun laughed. That depends who you ask. The message was clear. Competition had arrived. Weeks later, online rumors suddenly appeared. Articles. Blogs. Videos. People accusing Amina of chasing Ji-Hoon's money. The attacks became relentless. Cruel. Personal. One morning she arrived at work fighting tears. Ji-Hoon immediately noticed. What's wrong? Nothing. That was a lie. She sighed heavily. Then showed him the articles. Silence. Dangerous silence. Ji-Hoon read every headline. Every insult. Every accusation. Then calmly handed the phone back. What are you going to do? She asked. His expression never changed. End it. Within 24 hours. Every false article disappeared. Public apologies appeared online. Several media companies suddenly changed their tone. Nobody knew how. Amina knew exactly how. For the first time. She understood how much power Kang Ji-Hoon truly possessed. And strangely, knowing he protected her made her feel safe. Very safe. 2 months into their partnership, business took them to Jeju Island. The famous Korean paradise. Blue oceans. White beaches. Luxury resorts. For the first time since arriving in Korea, Amina relaxed. One evening she stood alone watching the sunset. The sky burned orange and gold. Beautiful. Peaceful. Then Ji-Hoon appeared beside her. Neither spoke for several minutes. The silence felt comfortable. Then unexpectedly, Amina asked a question. Why don't you have anyone? Ji-Hoon looked surprised. What do you mean? A wife. A girlfriend. A family. The billionaire stared at the ocean. For a long moment he said nothing. Then finally spoke. My mother died when I was 17. His voice became softer. My father died 2 years later. Amina turned toward him. He continued watching the horizon. I spent the rest of my life building businesses. His eyes remained fixed on the ocean. One day I looked around and realized I had built an empire. Silence. But I had nobody to share it with. For the first time, Amina saw loneliness behind his strength. And her heart hurt for him. Just when life was becoming peaceful, Marcus returned. Again. This time more desperate than ever. He had discovered Amina was working closely with one of Korea's richest men. And he wanted another chance. One evening he appeared outside her apartment carrying flowers. Amina, please. She shook her head immediately. No. I made mistakes. You stole from me. I was stupid. You humiliated me. Marcus stepped closer. Amina, I love you. No. Her answer came instantly. Firmly. Finally. No hesitation. No. For the first time. She truly meant it. Because the woman standing there was no longer the woman Marcus had broken. She was stronger now. And somewhere deep inside, her heart was already moving towards someone else. Several days later, Ji-Hoon hosted a private celebration for a successful international deal. Only close associates attended. The atmosphere felt relaxed. Happy. Warm. As the evening continued, Amina found herself standing alone on a rooftop terrace overlooking Seoul. The city lights stretched endlessly beneath her. Then Ji-Hoon joined her. Neither spoke immediately. Finally he broke the silence. Do you ever think about leaving Korea? Amina smiled softly. I used to. And now? She looked at the city. Then at him. Now I'm not so sure. For the first time. Their eyes held longer than usual. The air changed. The atmosphere changed. Everything changed. And both of them felt it. Neither looked away. Neither moved. Then suddenly. A phone rang. The moment shattered instantly. But the feeling remained. And neither of them slept that night. Over the following weeks. The attraction became impossible to ignore. The glances lasted longer. The conversations became deeper. The smiles became more frequent. Until finally. One rainy evening. Ji-Hoon asked Amina to meet him at the very hotel where they first met. The same hotel. The same elevator. The same place where everything began. Amina stepped inside. And froze. The elevator had been transformed. Flowers. Soft lights. Photographs of every moment they had shared. Business trips. Jeju Island. Dinners. Conversations. Memories. Then Ji-Hoon stepped forward. For the first time since she met him. He looked nervous. Actually nervous. Amina. His voice was softer than usual. I built companies. I built wealth. I built an empire. He paused. But you. His eyes locked onto hers. You built a home inside my heart. Tears immediately filled Amina's eyes. Ji-Hoon took a deep breath. The day you stepped into this elevator. He smiled. The loneliest chapter of my life ended. Then finally. The Shadow King confessed. I love you. And for a moment. The world seemed to stop. The confession should have made everything simple. It didn't. Because love is rarely simple. Especially when powerful people are involved. The morning after Ji-Hoon confessed his feelings, the entire city seemed brighter to Amina. For the first time in years. She felt genuinely happy. But someone else was furious. Han Seo-yeon. The heiress who had spent years trying to win Ji-Hoon's heart. The woman who had already imagined herself becoming Mrs. Kang. The woman who refused to lose. She sat inside her luxury penthouse staring at photographs of Amina. Jealousy burned inside her. How? She whispered. How did she do what I couldn't do in 5 years? One of her assistants remained silent. Seo-yeon stood and walked toward the massive window overlooking Seoul. If I can't have him. Her eyes hardened. Then neither can she. And just like that. The final battle began. 3 days later. Amina's life exploded. Again. News outlets suddenly published shocking headlines. African consultant secretly manipulating billionaire CEO. Woman accused of using romance for business influence. Inside the secret relationship shaking Korea's business world. Every channel covered the story. Every blog discussed it. Every social media platform exploded. Photographers camped outside her apartment. Reporters followed her everywhere. The pressure became unbearable. And for the first time since meeting Ji-Hoon, Amina became afraid. Not for herself. For him. She knew how much his reputation mattered. She knew how carefully he had built his empire. And now. She felt responsible for damaging it. That evening she arrived at his office. Her eyes filled with tears. We should end this. Ji-Hoon looked up slowly. Silence filled the room. What? We should stop seeing each other. No. The answer came instantly. Firmly. Powerfully. Amina blinked. What do you mean no? Ji-Hoon stood. Slowly. Calmly. Dangerously. Then he walked around his desk. Until he stood directly in front of her. Amina. His voice softened. I spent my entire life choosing business over happiness. He gently lifted her chin. I'm not doing it again. For the first time, Amina realized just how deeply this man loved her. The next morning, every major news network in Korea received a surprise invitation. Nobody knew why. The conference room became packed. Journalists. Reporters. Cameras. Everyone waited. Then the doors opened. Kang Ji-Hoon entered. The room instantly became silent. People expected damage control. A denial. An apology. Instead, Ji-Hoon stepped to the podium. Looked directly into the cameras. And shocked the entire nation. The rumors are correct. The room exploded. Questions erupted immediately. Flashes filled the room. Ji-Hoon raised his hand. Silence returned. Then he continued. I am in love with Amina Johnson. The room froze. Complete silence. Even reporters forgot to write. Ji-Hoon continued calmly. She did not manipulate me. She did not use me. She did not pursue me. His eyes hardened. I pursued her. Millions of viewers watching live nearly fell off their chairs. Across Seoul, people screamed. Social media crashed. The story became international news within hours. Meanwhile, Amina watched from her apartment. Tears streamed down her face. Nobody had ever defended her like that before. Nobody. Seo-yeon was furious. Absolutely furious. Her plan had failed. The scandal had only made people love Amina more. So she became desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. A week later, she secretly arranged a meeting with Marcus. The ex-boyfriend. The man who had hurt Amina. The man who still wanted her back. Seo-yeon made him an offer. A very expensive offer. Separate them. Marcus stared at the money. Then smiled. And accepted. What neither of them realized was that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Marcus contacted Amina pretending to apologize. Claiming he wanted closure. Claiming he wanted peace. Against her better judgment, Amina agreed to meet him one final time. She wanted to close that chapter forever. The meeting took place inside a quiet restaurant. At first everything seemed normal. Then suddenly, photographers appeared. Dozens of them. Cameras flashing everywhere. Marcus immediately grabbed Amina's hand. Trying to create the illusion of intimacy. Amina pulled away instantly. What are you doing? Then she understood. The setup. The trap. The betrayal. Meanwhile, across the city, Ji-Hoon's security team had already discovered everything. Within minutes, a black convoy arrived. The restaurant doors opened. And Kang Ji-Hoon entered. The atmosphere changed instantly. Marcus's confidence disappeared. Completely. Ji-Hoon walked directly toward the table. Looked at Marcus. Then calmly spoke. Leave. Just one word. Marcus stood immediately. And left. Without argument. Without hesitation. Without looking back. Because even he knew. Some battles could not be won. Winter arrived in Seoul. The city became covered in lights. Snow decorated the streets. Everything felt magical. One evening Ji-Hoon invited Amina to the rooftop of the hotel where they first met. The same hotel. The same city. The same skyline. Only this time, everything was different. As they stepped onto the rooftop, Amina froze. Thousands of lights illuminated the space. Flowers surrounded the entire terrace. Soft music filled the air. And photographs from their journey together stretched across the rooftop. The elevator. Jeju Island. Business trips. Laughter. Memories. Life. Amina immediately began crying. Then Ji-Hoon slowly walked forward. And for the first time in his life, the feared Shadow King knelt. The most powerful man in the room. The billionaire everyone feared. The man who controlled empires. On one knee. Looking only at her. Amina. His voice trembled slightly. You walked into an elevator. And accidentally walked into my life. Tears filled his eyes. I thought I was rescuing you. He smiled softly. But the truth is, you rescued me. The city lights sparkled behind him. You taught me how to laugh. How to trust. How to love. Then he opened a small velvet box. Inside was a breathtaking ring. Amina Johnson. The entire world seemed to stop. Will you marry me? Through tears. She smiled. The same smile he had fallen in love with. The same smile that changed everything. And finally, she answered. Yes. The wedding became one of the most talked about events in Korea. Not because of the money. Not because of the celebrities. Not because of the luxury. But because everyone knew the story. The story of a woman who arrived in Korea alone. Heartbroken. Betrayed. Lost. And somehow found love in the most unexpected place. As Amina walked down the aisle, Ji-Hoon could not stop smiling. His employees were shocked. Most had never seen him smile this much in their entire lives. Even the guests laughed. For once, the Shadow King looked less like a billionaire. And more like a man deeply in love. When they exchanged vows, there were tears everywhere. Even among the security guards. Especially among the security guards. 5 years later, midnight snow drifted gently across Seoul. Inside a beautiful home overlooking the city, laughter filled the air. A little girl ran across the living room. Her father chased after her. Pretending to lose. Pretending she was faster. Pretending she was stronger. Amina watched from the kitchen smiling. Because the terrifying billionaire everyone feared had become the world's softest father. Their daughter jumped into Ji-Hoon's arms. Daddy. He laughed. What? Tell me the elevator story again. Amina smiled immediately. Ji-Hoon groaned dramatically. Not again. Please. The little girl hugged him tighter. Finally he surrendered. And as he began telling the story, the same story that started everything, he looked toward Amina. Their eyes met. And even after all those years, the feeling remained. Because sometimes, one elevator ride is enough to change an entire life. One chance meeting is enough to heal a broken heart. And one person can turn loneliness into home.